gentlemen, welcome back. Today I want to teach you guys all about flow in graffiti. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be using other graffiti artists who you guys know and love in order to show these examples so that you can see them actually being utilized. So real quick, right off the bat, we got to address the fact that there's two different kinds of major ways to flow. These being letter and name uniformity and similarity, and the other method being momentum flow. These are two very different ways of flowing a name, and I want to start with momentum flow because it's really easy to understand, it's really easy to explain. So here we have a rhyme piece. There's a lot of fundamentals at work here, but for this tutorial specifically, I just want to focus on flow. This red line indicates how the start of his R swoops down, comes around in order to make the actual bowl of the R, but if we continued the momentum of the initial slope of that R, we can continue that directly into the letter I. That is momentum flow. You are continuing the momentum, the suggested direction of energy from one letter to another letter. You can certainly do this throughout an individual letter, but typically you need time in order to build up that momentum, in order to build up that energy, which is why it's typically done from one letter to another. And we'll even see this again here. If you look at this yellow indicator, we can see how the leg of the R flows momentum from the R to the left side of the M, and if we continue that line, as indicated from the dotted lines, it continues to the right side of the M. So all of that is momentum flow. And when we take away all of the indicators, you can see it in the piece, how one line flows to the next and flows to the next. These lines don't necessarily have to connect in order to flow momentum. Think of it as jumping over a gap in a video game. There's a gap between these letters, but you can still jump that gap if you have enough momentum. Now I want to show you guys another crazy example, and this one's gonna come from Mad C. Now something you gotta understand about any fundamental in graffiti is they're very reliant on the other fundamentals of graffiti, which we are not going over in this video. I have other tutorials for those if you guys want to check them out. But so depending on how you position your letters and depending on the letter structures themselves and how you do them, that can affect your flow in general. In this case, we're going to take a look at how Mad C positioned her letters in such a way to maximize momentum flow. So in this Mad C piece, it looks pretty basic. You look at this, you're like, oh, that's not really a wild style. There's nothing really technical about this. I can do this, no big deal. That's what some people would say. But any skilled graffiti artist can look at this and go, whoa, hold up, there's something dangerously dope at work here. And let's take a look at that. We start with the letter M. Look at this really nice, smooth momentum flow from the right side leg of the M all the way up to the A and then past the serif of the M in order to connect to the structure of the D. She just flowed 3 letters with one very simple momentum flow. Now that is smooth. That is smooth. But let's have a look at this. What's this? An extension that flows from the left side of the M all the way over to the right side of the M and shoots down in order to meet with the same momentum flow, which flows directly into the letter A as well. Now she flowed 2 letters with an extension. Moving on, look at this. From here she goes from the left side of the A, which already flows with the right side of the M. She takes that and flows through the D and all the way to the C. This is all based on how she positioned her letters and the structure she used. That right there is some really good knowledge. But it doesn't even stop there. We then move from that same point in the A all the way on the left, and she goes through the A all the way to the top of the C instead of the bottom this time. And we got time for one more real smooth momentum flow, and that's from the center of the M, flowing all the way to the top right on the serif of the M, to the top structure of the D, all the way to the top structure of the A, all the way to meet off and round off the right side top of the C. When you take a look at what's under the hood of this piece, phenomenal momentum flow. This is top tier. This is why Mad C is as renowned as she is and as respected as she is, because of stuff like that. And she once again does the same thing here. Just because letter and name positioning, she's able to flow momentum throughout the entire name. And just for the sake of time, we're not going to go as in depth as we did before on this piece, but you can see how she carries momentum from the bottom of the M all the way throughout the left, all the way up past the M. And this ends up flowing momentum from the M to the A. Not only that, but it also shares letter and line uniformity and similarity once you get towards the top of the D. She does this again from the same point on the M, starting there, goes all the way through the A, all the way through the D, and all the way over to the C. This now makes all of the letters flow. Once again, from the M, same exact spot, all the way to the A, all the way to the D again. But now she starts a new momentum flow, and this one starts at the D, and this is where things get interesting. This is where another lesson is taking place. So she starts at the D, she carries that line up from the bottom of the D all the way over to the C. And you think it ends there. Now this momentum flow does not necessarily flow with the green lines, but she links them together, and this is what's important. She links these two different flows together by including this blue line. Just so you guys can see that path a little easier, I'm gonna get rid of all the green. She goes from the bottom of the M, flows that momentum throughout the actual structure, positions the A at a slight left, and then makes the structure have a flow that leads directly into the bottom of the D, which then allows her to change the direction to the yellow line. Now mind you, in this piece we are focusing a lot on momentum flow, but she does use a lot of letter and line uniformity and similarity. So what is line and letter uniformity and similarity? It sounds a lot more difficult than what it actually is, honestly. I'm going to break this up into two different lessons, if you will, just to make it a little bit easier. Line uniformity and similarity is how similar or uniform two lines are. But you gotta keep in mind, line uniformity and similarity is proximity based. Meaning, if you have a vertical line on the way left of your piece and a vertical line on the way right of your piece, these two lines will not flow. They are too far away. And we'll go over that in a second, because that's a little bit in depth. But letter uniformity and similarity is a lot more simple than that, because it's not proximity based. And all letter uniformity and similarity is a part of a letter that is uniform or similar to a different letter. That's it. And you can see that marked here in yellow. The far left yellow line is uniform to the D, which is uniform to the C. And all these yellow lines are similar to the green lines. They're not exactly the same, but they're similar. And this increases flow. So we just looked over two different methods in Mad C's piece to increase flow. And keep in mind, these lines right here are letter uniformity and similarity. But she does use line uniformity and similarity, and you can see that throughout her piece. We're going to take a look at a different example though. And for this, we have Bates. We're going to be taking a look at line uniformity and similarity. This is a line by line basis. We're not looking at specific letters here. Now take a look at these red lines. These are only a few of the line uniformity and similarities in this piece. But you can see how he has a horizontal line on the A, he has another one pretty close by on the A, and then he's got a bunch of horizontal lines just to the right of it on the T. And then he moved from the T and he's got a couple on the E. Doing this makes those letters flow. Now, because the A has similar lines as the A and the T flow. And because the A and the T have similar lines to the E, the ATE flow. And this happens throughout the entire piece. Now you're probably looking at this and you're saying, what do the yellow lines indicate? Well, the yellow lines are lines that are similar to one another. If you'll notice the way left yellow lines, the top one is similar to the bottom one. We move to the right of that and you have some green lines. The left green line is similar to the right green line. So they're not exactly the same, but these two are similar. And as a result, they flow. And this is how he links the B to the A. And I do want you to keep in mind, line uniformity and similarity is proximity based. Now I want to take a look at a very, very clear as day example of letter uniformity and similarity. On the left side of the B, we have this green detail over here, which is identical except inverted to the way top right of the S. If you include uniform and similar details across your entire piece, your piece will increase in flow. There's things you can do to decrease flow, there's things you can do to increase flow, but overall you want to maintain a passing grade of flow, if you will. Alright, so throughout this tutorial, you guys have heard me talk a lot about how line uniformity and similarity is proximity based, and I never really went into detail on it. So this is a perfect piece to show you guys an example of how to link together one line on the left side to a different line on the right side. And keep in mind, this doesn't have to be at the ends of a piece, it can be anywhere. It can be from one side of the letter to another side of a single letter. So the question becomes, how do you link those together? So let's take a look at these two green lines. They're pretty similar. And we need to figure out a way to make those two lines flow together. How are you going to do that? Well, here's how. You link them together with uniform and similar lines throughout the entire piece. You have the initial green line. Just to the right of that, within close proximity, you have a very similar or uniform line, whichever works for your piece. Close in proximity to that, you have another one, and close in proximity to that, you got another one, so on and so forth. You do this for as long as you need it, in this case throughout the entire piece, and you have just linked your first letter all the way to your last letter. You have what's called a through line, and that's important. That's important for flow. Typically doing this process would happen once you've already sketched the piece and you're trying to make adjustments. Now earlier in this tutorial, if you guys remember, we talked about how Mad C changed momentum flow from one letter's momentum flow to another letter's completely different momentum flow. You can do the same thing with letter and line uniformity and similarity. Think of it something similar of evolution. You start off with one thing, and over time it slowly changes to a different thing. And here's an example of that right here. Let's take a look at this perfect horizontal, which starts off around the A. As we move up from this line, you'll notice the line changes a little bit, but it's still similar, maintaining that overall horizontal look to it. We get to the orange line, where it's a perfect horizontal. This goes from behind the A over to the B. Now this orange is similar to the yellow, but we have a darker orange, which goes just above our original orange line. And this is the linking point between the two different flows. We start off with a horizontal line for the B, which swoops down towards the front of the bottom of the B. And then at this point it becomes a vertical line, which then allows him to do different things throughout the piece. So ladies and gentlemen, those are all of the possible ways to flow. In a nutshell, you have two different types of flow: momentum flow and letter and line uniformity and similarity, which sounds a lot more technical than it is, but it's really simple. All it is line uniformity and similarity, which is proximity based. Lines make up letters. Letter uniformity and similarity, which is not proximity based. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. I will be sure to answer as many as I possibly can. If anything confused you, this is the time to ask. If you're interested in my other tutorials, I have a bunch for you guys. It goes over literally everything you need to know for graffiti. If this video helped you guys at all, feel free to drop it a like and share it with somebody who you think it'll also help. Share it with your crew. For those of you guys who are new here, this isn't only a graffiti channel. We do a bunch of art related stuff. We got, silly speed paintings for cartoons. We got real speed paintings that, that are a little more serious for the oil painting stuff. And we also got graffiti speed paintings. I'm an all-around artist. So if this sounds like something you don't want to miss out on, feel free to hit that subscribe button. And don't forget, I got the social media in the description down below. Feel free to pick your favorite one and drop me a follow. Anyway, I'll catch you guys next time, but until then, peace.